So Blizzard just revealed that big secret they've been withholding, and it's this right here that, yes, we get another opportunity to hop into Diablo 4 before release, and it's called the Server Slam, happening May 12th through the 14th, open to absolutely everyone to really test those servers. This is going to be a ton of fun, but this article goes into extensive details as to what we can expect during the Server Slam, earning Server Slam rewards as you play, because as you can see clearly, there's some really cool stuff. Also, how in the world do you download the Server Slam in the first place? And yes, there was that big developer live stream that did happen, and they had a bunch of brand new details in there, especially about what's going on with like the classes. Barbarian is apparently amazing now, and then the Druid is apparently, get this, a powerhouse in the in-game. I kid you not, this is some really cool stuff. But let's get into, first and foremost, that blog post about the Server Slam. It goes on to say this right here. It says, from May 12th, 12 p.m. through May 14th, 12 p.m. PDT time, everyone can come to Sanctuary's Defense on Windows, basically every platform as you can see, along with couch co-op for consoles and crossplay and cross-progression for all platforms against the armies of the Burning Hells to help out, test out the servers. Now, if you are wondering, can I play my beta character and continue those characters in the Server Slam? No, you cannot. I'll get into those details in just a moment. This is a whole new experience. So let's talk about what to expect during the Server Slam. Now, if we scroll down, it goes on to say this: Server Slam will give players one final weekend in Hell to experience a fraction of what Diablo 4 has to offer, while simultaneously testing the capabilities of our servers prior to launch. The prologue and the entirety of Act 1 will be your canvas to paint with the remains of slain demons. Fractured Peaks, the first zone, is yours to navigate as you please, traverse its rugged landscape, as Barbarian, Druid, Necromancer, Rogue, and Sorcerer, unleashing devastating power upon foes and honing your unique skill set in the process. Now, it says, for those who played during our early access and open beta weekends, these details may seem familiar. However, there are a few nuances we're ushering in with Server Slam. So let's pay attention here. It says, any character progress made during the early access and open beta weekends will not carry over to Server Slam. Additionally, any character progress made during Server Slam will not carry over to launch. Now, players may level up their characters to level 20, after which you will cease to gain ability points, but can continue to slay demons and earn alluring gear. The legendary item drop rate has been altered to reflect the drop rate that will be present in the launch version of Diablo 4. Now, the version of Diablo 4 available during Server Slam will include all the bug fixes and updates detailed in our open beta retrospective blog. Now, I did a whole video about those changes. I'll throw that video in the description below if you're curious about that. A lot of changes, a lot of improvements happening with this. So I am super excited to especially go hands-on with Druid and Barbarian with this one. And they're doing something a little different with Ashava. Check it out. It says, overcome Server Slam's biggest challenge, Ashava. So what have they done differently here? It says, still yourself before one of the Burning Hell's most foul machinations, Ashava. She's a lumbering behemoth with 2 razor-sharp blades. Okay, we get that. Now it says, because your character can't surpass level 20 during Server Slam, felling her will be quite the monumental task. Because got to remember, she's level 25. It says, here's when you'll have an opportunity to combat Ashava during Server Slam. So this is the time, May 13th, starting at 9 a.m. PDT, and every 3 hours thereafter until the final spawn on May 14th at 9 a.m. PDT. So there's several chances to really slay Ashava. However, there's also this right here. You'll earn Server Slam rewards as you play. And look at this. This is beautiful. This Ashava Mount Trophy says this: felling the pestilence, spewing Ashava, comes with a new earnable reward, the Cry of Ashava Mount Trophy. They've also reanimated rewards for our early access and open beta weekends, giving players another chance at earning these tokens of valor by spilling demons' blood. Players who unlock these rewards will receive them once Diablo 4 launches. Now, if you've previously earned any of the below rewards from the early access and open beta weekends, you do not need to earn them again. Here they are. Initial Casualty title earned by reaching Kavashad with 1 character. Early Voyager title earned by reaching level 20 on 1 character. And then the Beta Wolfpack cosmetic item earned by reaching level 20 on 1 character. And then the Cry of Ashava Mount Trophy, which is new, earned by defeating Ashava with 1 level 20 character. So that's really cool. I love that they are doing this with the rewards. I have to hand it to Blizzard that they're tying in whatever you're doing from the beta over to the launch of the game. That's just so cool. All right, so now, furthermore, it goes on to say this right here. How to download the Server Slam. There's no need to wait until May 12th to begin your download of Server Slam. Early download for this experience starts on May 10th at 12 p.m. PDT time. See the directions below on how to download Server Slam for your platform of choice. It says if you do not have Diablo 4 open beta downloaded. It says this. For PC, launch the Battle.net client. If Diablo 4 is not already in your favorites bar, you can add it by clicking the plus icon. Alternatively, you can find Diablo 4 by accessing the All Games page. You'll see Diablo 4 at the top of this list. Once you get to the Diablo 4 Games page, click the drop-down menu under the game version and select Diablo 4 Server Slam option. Click the blue button that says Install. The game will begin to install, and once available, click Play to launch. All right, what about Xbox? Launch the Xbox Store and search for Diablo 4 Server Slam. Select Download. PlayStation says launch the PlayStation Store and search Diablo 4 Server Slam. Select Download. And for those of you that still have the Diablo 4 open beta downloaded, guess what? Once the early download period begins, an update will be available for you to download after Server Slam starts. You can begin your journey into Sanctuary. Now, I have already deleted my Diablo 4 open beta on PC. I might still have it on Xbox, so I might get lucky with that one. Now, it has a note here as well, so we got to take note of this. It says an Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus subscription will not be required to play Diablo 4 during the open beta and early access weekends in most regions. Okay, so I'm assuming that's the same thing for the Server Slam. I guess the wording is weird on that, so I'm assuming that is the same thing. All right, so yeah, we got to talk about the developer update live stream. By the way, thank you all so much for sitting in on my live stream reaction of sorts. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it, starting out with what Riker had to say about the game, because he had the chance to go hands-on with all of the new changes. And he says that he loves the feeling of the end-game barbarian. This makes me so happy. He says it's very formidable, and I believe he said it's like his number 2 favorite class. But guess what ended up being his favorite in-game class recently? That is the Druid. I kid you not. He called his build something like the Werewolf Storm build. He said it was absolutely crazy what you could do with the Druid in the in-game, and he was very, very impressed with what they have done with the Druid. Now, let's talk about dungeons, because yes, there's going to be something happening with Nightmare Dungeons every single season. So get this, there's going to be a specific amount of dungeons on offer every single season to become a Nightmare Dungeon. Not all 120 plus dungeons will be able to become Nightmare Dungeons right out of the gate. They're going to essentially rotate those every season, it seems. And they, I believe they're going to do 30, they said, dungeons, but they don't have a set amount of dungeons on that one per season that they're going to rotate with the Nightmare Sigils. Now also, Riker did say that in-cap dungeons are apparently very challenging, in fact, extremely challenging, and you're going to have to really fine-tune your build if you're going to want to overcome these in-cap dungeons. So it's good to know that there are very, very challenging dungeons in this game. Now, they also changed the layouts, of course, for the dungeons, but they gave specific examples. Check it out right here. Here's one example. You can see how sad this dungeon actually is, and you can see how much backtracking there would be, considering that the points of interest, the objectives are on the exterior of the dungeon, making you backtrack a lot of unnecessary stuff going on there. Here's the new version of that dungeon example. Check it out right here. They adjusted it to where it flows so much better, and the critical objectives are on one singular path, so you can get through the dungeon fairly quickly without backtracking. Furthermore, they gave another example right here. As you can see at the beginning of the dungeon, you have to do this weird backtracking thing where there's just no enemies. It's not a lot of fun to do that sort of backtracking. So how did they adjust this type of dungeon layout going forward? They did this right here. Check it out. That is so much better. I love it. These are the simple changes, in my opinion, that will keep people in the game for a longer duration. So some excellent changes right there for sure. They also gave more examples of legendary gear and sacred and even ancestral gear. Check it out right here. Look at this. You can pause the screen. I'm not going to go over every single detail here, but these are just some of the examples that we can expect in the full version of the game that they have on offer as you explore the world. And for Ancestral unique items. Check it out right here. This is some really cool stuff. Let me zoom it out. Again, you can pause the screen if you want to see all of the bonus yourself. But yeah, they've done some very cool stuff with the uniques and really make the chase worthwhile from what I am seeing. And one more example, as you can see right here, with some rings, some helms that you can actually acquire. So some cool stuff going on there. So it was good to see that they gave specific examples as to what we can expect there for sure. But let's keep going. Let's keep talking about what was discussed in this stream beyond dungeons. But they did also say, if the dungeon requires you to kill every monster, the stragglers will now seek you out so you don't have to backtrack the whole dungeon. And it also makes the end of that dungeon experience more exciting because you're going to have an entire mob rushing you. I thought that was cool. Now, when it comes to resetting the dungeons, we've got some new clarification about that one. So a lot of people were like, man, I still want to be able to reset the dungeon. So dungeons will actually naturally reset over the period of about 60 seconds when you complete a dungeon and leave. So you have 60 seconds and then it will reset. However, if you leave the dungeon and it's half completed and you've left a good amount of enemies, it'll take about 150 seconds for that dungeon to reset. Now, you can also join a fresh dungeon by joining a friend or another player. That's one way you can do it. So you can kind of imagine how you can really take advantage of co-op. But honestly, it might just be better to wait the 60 seconds as well. Now, the first time you kill a world boss is when you get the most rewards, and it will lessen a little bit more after that to discourage players from just sitting there and farming the world boss over and over again. So they want you to really take advantage of the full world that they have built and explore all of it. So that's the reason that they've done that. However, they do assure everyone that, hey, just because we've done that doesn't mean you're not going to be getting really good rewards still when you defeat the same world boss. Also, we're going to be seeing more graphics options available to us with the new server slam. So we're going to get the chance to try those out as well. And they plan on adding new infusions of new game content like legendaries post-launch beyond seasons. So for the vanilla experience, I guess you would say, outside of seasons, they still plan to update that portion of the game, but they still want you to experience seasons. They say this is the way to experience Diablo 4. Now they also plan to add new skills and passive for classes down the road to add even more interesting playstyles for classes. I'm very curious to see what happens with that one. I was not expecting that. I just expected them to move on and just create a whole new class, but no, they're not done with each class here. They want to keep adding cool stuff to the existing classes. But yeah, what about Renown? So Renown will be reset season to season. Altars of Lilith stats will propagate to all of your characters within whatever realm you're playing. So for example, if you create a hardcore character and you have like 5 different hardcore characters, those Altar of Lilith bonuses will continue on to all of your hardcore characters, not your characters that are on like a normal world. However, that's vice versa. So if you are playing with normal characters and you continue upgrading your Altars of Lilith and you keep unlocking Altars of Lilith, those unlocks will go to only your normal characters on the normal realm. I hope that makes sense. That's how they explained it on the stream. So yeah, that's pretty cool there. It's kind of to make it not so redundant. Now there's monster families that also are roaming around this world. And what they mean by that is that these monster families have bonuses attached to them that allow them to drop certain types of loot more often. Now, it's not like they're going to drop just that loot, but they have a higher chance of dropping that. They gave an example of skellies dropping, of course, crossbows, and you'll find that throughout the world in these monster families and really be able to fine-tune how you farm accordingly. Now, there's also an elixir that allows you to get away in the field of hatred if you don't want to engage in PvP. So if you still want to venture in there and take advantage of what is on offer in PvP zones, you can do that apparently and still like escape very, very quickly. Now they do have some measures in place to make it more balanced, of course. Level 100 players will not be able to harass level 25 players in these PvP zones, for example. But be warned, you can get ganged up on by a team of players. That's just going to happen. They do describe this as not a battle of honor. It's more of a battle of slaughter. So yeah. All right, so they did go on to say that there will be another live stream, by the way, and that's going to be going over seasonal structure and the battle pass, so stay tuned for that as well. That's going to be happening in May. I have you guys covered, of course. All right, let's talk about sacred items and ancestral items. So sacred items have a very wide range of power in World 3, they described. Sacred items go from level 50 to 70, for example. And from the point that you are level 50, you can actually pick up a level 70 item and hold it until you're ready to use it. So they gave that example that it's a wide breadth of basically power in World Tier 3 on offer. All right, so let's talk about Hell Tides. Now, when you die in Hell Tides, and of course, this is going to be those zones that offer tougher monsters to face off against, and guess what? Bigger rewards. So when you die in Hell Tides, you lose half of your cinders. You can't take cinders out of Hell Tides, by the way. There's also a time limit on Hell Tides. And get this, they're only around for about an hour to really put the pressure on when you are in a Hell Tide event to make sure you use those cinders accordingly. And Hell Tides also have very specific crafting materials. And get this, the Butcher can even appear in Hell Tide events. I'm not too sure if this is a more powerful version of the Butcher, but I'm assuming that is the case. Now you can upgrade your Paragon glyphs at the end of Nightmare Dungeons, by the way. You can salvage sigils and craft sigils you actually want. So you don't have to be stuck with a sigil that, doesn't benefit you whatsoever. All right, more about the Paragon boards here. So nodes on the Paragon board have requirements to obtain certain bonuses, but as you progress through the board, those requirements get more expensive to obtain as you go. Now, one of the coolest things I love about this that Riker mentioned is that every Paragon board is centered around a specialty. So there's some Paragon boards that are meant for summons, for example, or Blood Mage in the case of the Necro. And you can go into your Paragon boards and actually see that, oh, this is a specialty. This is what I want. Or you can opt out of that Paragon board and go after a different specialty. But each Paragon board, this is extremely important, is dedicated to a specialty for whatever class you are currently using. All right, so there it is, the latest happenings around Diablo 4. Some very exciting news. Can't believe we're actually getting an opportunity to hop into the game before release again. I am super hyped for that. Cannot wait to see all these changes and to see how my Barbarian is feeling. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. And I've got you guys covered on all things Diablo 4, and I will see you all next time. Take care.